when I'm out and about, my objective is to meet as many people as possible. I'm very outgoing, I'm very friendly, I'm always smiling, I'm happy. And you tend to meet a lot of amazing people if you just put yourself out there. First of all, I learned very quickly, don't waste time. A lot of people will waste your time, and then I learned very quickly, a closed mouth never gets fed. If you don't ask for what you want, it's never gonna work for you. So those are two critical points within the brokerage business. So I always tell people, I'm not in the fishing business. I'm not here to fish. I'm here to get deals done, right? I'm not interested in chasing blue skies. I wanna get deals done. You have to be there for your clients in good times and in bad. And if you abandon your clients in the bad times, then you're not a good broker, right? Then you're just an opportunistic guy, and that's not how you should be.
Emily Stimler, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, when I was doing a bit of research on you, I noticed that you were in the nightclub business back in New York. I'm just curious what lessons you learned from that, how that applies to the real estate business. We recently had Jared Epstein on, who recently had a similar route from nightclub to real estate. So I'm curious what sort of lessons you learned there that you can apply to your real estate career.
That's a really good question. If you look at it, I would say nothing, because the real estate, the nightlife thing was kind of a blur for me. It was a phase of my life that I was recovering from the crash of 2008, and I wanted nothing to do with finance, so I just threw myself into a different business. But I think when you're looking after people, when you're in hospitality, there's a kind of a measure of babysitting and looking after and making sure everyone's taken care of. And I think to be a good broker, you've got to have that same innate ability to look after people, right? People, it's a very humanistic business. There's a lot of emotion involved in being a broker, dealing with the emotions of you, either the buyer, the seller, the guy that's doing the loan with you, and you've got to handle those needs. So I think that's maybe one of the lessons I learned from the nightlife industry, but again, I don't really remember a lot of those years.
You had a good time. But you built a great network. Another thing I found out about you have a great network in different countries around the world. I'm curious how that network globally has given you a unique perspective on the New York I know you do deals across the country, but in the American markets, like you get a different perspective always helps. Yeah,
I think so. When I go out, when I'm out and about, my objective is to meet as many people as possible, right? I'm very outgoing, I'm very friendly, I'm always smiling, I'm happy, and you tend to meet a lot of amazing people if you just put yourself out there. So I've met some fantastic people that I've ended up doing business with, but that wasn't the kind of the reason that I am who I am, or I go out to do that. It's kind of like a byproduct. I'm going out to meet amazing people, have amazing experiences, and be in that kind of social setting, and that's helped me. And then I've made these amazing connections with some incredibly successful people in the UK, in South Africa, in Israel, in all over, and those guys have then come into play in the US in the real estate space, because obviously this is the biggest market, probably one of the best markets in the world, I would say. I can't think of a better real estate market anywhere. London maybe can compete, but not in size and scale of the US. So just that kind of network has stood me in really, really good stead. And I think when you are in the brokerage business, you can't be behind a desk, right? You've got to be out and about. You've got to be at the conferences. You've got to be at the networking events. You've got to be at the places, the power lunches, the power dinners. You've got to throw yourself into that scene to meet those people. I always think this is a great story, and I've said it many times before. I was at Cipriani's in Miami, and I'm sitting there with my wife and some friends, and I'm dressed. I'm always dressed quite well, I think. And
very dapper today.
Yeah, thank you. This gentleman walks in, and he's wearing a beautiful Patek, like a magnificent, super rare, crazy Patek. And my interest is piqued. Like, who is this guy with this unbelievable watch? So I go up to him and I say, hi, I love your watch. It's a beautiful watch. We start chatting. Turns out it's a very well-known developer in Miami. And I said, can I come and have a meeting with you? I had a meeting with him, and now I do business with him. The same with Larry Silverstein. I'm in an elevator. I walk into an elevator in the Four Seasons the building he built. This is going back 5-6 years, and I see Larry standing there, and he looks at me, goes, nice. I like your suit, young man. I said, I recognize him immediately. He's very distinctive. And I said, Mr. Silverstein, I love your buildings. And he started laughing. I said, my name is Henry Stimler. I'd love to come in and speak to you about what I can do. And he gave me his card. I've never seen him since, but I went in, met his guys, and now we do a ton with Silverstein. I was at Silverstein's office yesterday. I'm going to Silverstein to Miami on Wednesday. So it's just, you've got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, it's great that you have the chutzpah to do that, because at the end of the day, we're not really doing anything that's really unique in IP, so it's just about how your likability and your execution skills.
If you've been wondering what types of deals we've been working on,
we made it easy for you. Just click on the link, show notes below.
we're talking real deals and real opportunities.
Whether you're an investor or owner, or just curious to know what's going on behind the scenes.
Just click the link below and it'll bring you right to all of our available inventory.
Yeah, there's nothing proprietary. We're all doing the same thing. We're all chasing the same business. Some guys are more successful than others because you need everything, right? You need a great team, right? So that team is so important. This is not tennis. This is football, right? You need a team around you and the team with you, because that's going to be a huge part of how you execute. And then you need the chutzpah to make the approach, right? And go and say why give you the business. You've got to make that approach and kind of try and win the business. And sometimes it takes time. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. Again, I did the same thing with a chap called Patrick Carroll. He had a big business. He sold it. We were selling a portfolio called the Aragon portfolio. This is going back to 2021, 2022. It's a $2 billion portfolio.
$2 billion?
Yeah, $1.85 billion.
Wow.
It was 14,000 units. It was the 5th largest multifamily trade in US history. And I was chasing that deal for my client. And ultimately, my client won it, Harbour Group won it. We ended up financing it. We did the deal. It was fantastic. We're refining a lot of that properties now a few years later. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. But there was a bridesmaid on the bid list that was pushing my client, called Carroll. And I don't know the Carroll organization, but immediately after the deal was awarded, I wanted to then track down this gentleman. So I follow him on LinkedIn, and I follow him on social media, and I try and get hold of him, and there's no response. And I see that he's flying in on his private plane. It's like a cold night, and then I see he's at Cipriani's. He's got a picture of him at Cipriani's. And I was sick in bed that night, and I said, I'm going. I got dressed, put on a suit and tie, walked into Cipriani's, pulled up a chair next to him, and said, I'm Henry Stimler. We need to be doing business together. And at first he looked at me kind of like, what the hell's going on? But I think he was kind of like... Okay,
probably shocked maybe, because a lot of people don't do that to him.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. And then he was intrigued, but he wasn't just hand me the business. He made me work for it. And we ended up doing a tremendous amount of business with him.
Wow. So in terms of the start of your real estate career, you started a company called London Street Capital back in 2015?
Okay, so London Green Capital.
What initially got you into the real estate business?
My wife.
Okay.
So I've been I come to New York at 22 years old, and I got into asset-backed securities in the insurance world. And as a 22-year-old boy, started to make a lot of money, and everything was rock and rolling those days. The economy was on fire. Everything was great. People were investing.
Sorry, what year was this?
This is 2002.
Okay.
So from 2002 to 2007-8 was the run up, and I just caught the run up and just started to make a lot of money for a 20-year-old kid, 22-year-old, 23-year-old kid, and with success, unfortunately, sometimes comes arrogance, right? And which is a horrible thing, and I learned a very powerful lesson. And I thought I was invincible. And then in 2008, the crash happened, and it was so severe and so quick and so fast and so debilitating. It was just crushing. And I was a 20-year-old. I had no idea how to deal with that, from going at the top of the world one day, having an apartment on 65th and 5th Avenue, having 3 cars, having watches, having art, having this big office with all these employees, to having it all taken away, right? And I'd signed the lease on an office building, and I'd signed personal recourse. I'd signed a guarantee, which no one should ever do. And
that's tough at any age, particularly that age.
Yeah, so the landlord, which was Elliot Spitzer, it's the Crown Building, which is, say, the Armand Hotel and Residence, a spectacular project done by Kane and Oko. But then I had an office there, and these guys wanted their pound of flesh, and they went after me for everything, and they just took everything. And so I went from being a super successful 20-year-old arrogant little kid to now having absolutely nothing. And broke as could be. So I'd always loved to go. I'd always had a lot of people around me when I went out, maybe because I was buying the drinks or for whatever, I don't know. But there was this restaurant that needed help promoting, and they asked me if I would do a dinner party with my now wife, then girlfriend, and I started out doing these Saturday night parties, these dress-up parties, and it became really successful, and I kind of got a bite for it, and I started doing more parties. And then my friend said to me, I found this old Chinese restaurant that has a 4M liquor license. We need a sound system. Will you lend me the money? I said, I'm not lending you the money. I'll invest, and I'll be a partner. Opened Madame Wong's, became a great success, and did that for a bunch of years. They opened the Raven, opened Jezebel.
Which neighborhood was that?
Jezebel was in West Broadway. Madame Wong's was on Howard Street. The Raven was in the Meatpacking District, what's today the hotel. the Restoration Hardware Hotel. Had a great run.
Sounds a lot of fun at that
It was a lot of fun from 30 to 35, did that. And then my wife we wanted to have children. She said, I've had enough of this. Yeah, you can't come home at 5 o'clock. You can't work these hours. I met you when you were a finance bro. You got to go back to being a finance bro. And I think I'd learned a lot of lessons. I kind of got out of my system. I was ready. I was ready to get suited up again. And I remember the first day I put a suit and tie back on. It had been 5 years since I wore a suit and tie. I said, I felt like Batman. I said, I'm ready to go. And she said, go see Anthony Orso at Cantor Fitzgerald. Ask him for a job. She knew Anthony for many years. He'd kind of been like a father figure to her. So I go see Anthony in his ginormous fishbowl office with this huge trading desk in front of you, all hundreds of people in front of you, really intimidating. And I said, Anthony, can you give me a job? And he looked at me and said, you're a club rat, right? What do you know about real estate finance? You don't know anything, right? You're in the club business. What, you don't know anything? I said, yeah, I know, but I really want to get out of the club world. I really want to come back in the corporate world. I need a job. He said, I can't give you a job. I'll give you an internship. We just fired this guy. Here's a key card. We're not going to give you an email. Just come in here, see what you can do, and learn the business and see what you can do. He had just bought Berkeley Point, which was the agency business. And they wanted to bring in clients for their agency business. And predominantly the agency business had worked through brokers. So now they wanted me to go and pitch to all these multifamily owners to come direct to Cantor to do Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. So it was a pretty simple pitch, but I knew nothing. I had to learn. And people had known me from the club world. I had to kind of change everything. So I set up this moniker, London Green Capital, being from London, gold is green, doing this. And I went in every day. And a lot of people took the time to teach me. Guys that I work with today, guys like Chris Milner, who I would sit in his office, this big guy from BlackRock, and I would just have a list of questions, and he would take the time to teach me. And Aaron Westner and Bill Weber and even Clifford, all guys I still work with, they really... They thought it was funny, right? They didn't understand who this guy was, this loud English guy coming in and sitting there. But I started to learn the business, and I just picked up the phone and started making calls. I've never been scared of rejection. I think rejection is just part of life. Okay, you don't want to do business with me. You don't want to go out with me. You don't want to be my friend. That's fine. It's okay. It doesn't crush me. So I wasn't scared of rejection. I just started making calls. My pitch was super simple. Hey, right now you're going to a broker to do your agency business. You're paying the agency a fee. You're paying the broker a fee. Let's cut out the middleman. Bring the deals to me. And I started banging on doors. I started talking to a lot of rabbis. I said, hey, make introductions. The rabbis are a great introduction to their community. They know their community, and they're always ready to help. And I said, anything I make, I would give part of my earnings to the synagogue or the rabbi, which is a win-win for everybody. And they made introductions. And finally, me and my wife literally had nothing. We were, because there was no salary, there's no wage, and I wasn't making money. But I did my first deal. I made $25,000, and then I think that was the week my son was born. Right, literally the week my son was born. Yeah, and I made my first commission check of 20 grand. It was a small deal, but it started the ball rolling, and then I started to get more deals done and more deals done. I started to learn the lingo. I started to understand all the ins and outs of it, and I got more confident. And Anthony, to his credit, came with me everywhere. And I would set up hundreds of meetings with him. And I would have lines outside the office with just people filing in to see him like he was the oracle. And he would just, and he was a big guy, ran Credit Suisse, ran Cantor. So it was a great guy to have access to. So that was huge for me that I had access to him. Big CMBS book, big agency book. So it was
Sounds
great.
like you're getting like your 10,000 hours in, you're getting your reps in for later life. So you touched on a couple of interesting points there, like mentorship and partnerships, right?
Yeah.
So do you mind expanding that a bit more? So like you had a great mentors in Anthony Orso and one of your partners, Bill Weber.
Yeah.
That's really been, so it sounds like a pivotal point in your career, right? You're getting started doing a lot of business early. Like, do you mind touching on that, how that helped you?
That was huge, right? That I couldn't have done it without them. If I'd just been selling myself, I wouldn't have had any success. I sold access to Anthony. I would tell people, I can get you to see the head of Cantor, the head of Cantor Commercial Real Estate. I can set up a meeting. And when you have that access to that kind of guy, it's really huge. And then Bill Weber was this seasoned vet. He's now today my partner. I do everything with Bill. And Anthony's obviously head of the group still, but I do everything with Anthony and Bill. Sorry, more Bill than Anthony. But Bill was there for me, right? And Bill's incredibly technically savvy and Wharton educated, complete opposite of me, older, bit of a schlubby dresser, but the complete opposite of me, right? So it's a great partner because we kind of we bounce off each other, and he's the complete difference. He's very technical. Like I've seen him help Blackstone write term sheets. He's a brilliant mind. He's very calm and he's very pessimistic. I'm very optimistic. I kind of manifest what I want, and he's like, this is not going to happen. Like that deal I was telling you outside. He's like, it's a very difficult deal. I'm going to will that deal. I'm going to make that deal happen. I'm going to fight tooth and nail to hang. And he's like, it's a lot of. He's the most pessimistic guy. I'm the most optimistic guy. But it kind of works. So between him and Anthony, I had someone to kind of people that I could pitch. So London Green Capital started doing business as an outside correspondent for Cantor, and then in 2018, Howard Lutnick, who's the Secretary of Commerce, Anthony was then told he was going to be transferred from Cantor to Newmark. And I was still London Green Capital. I was still doing my own thing. And he's like, you're coming with me. I was like, no, I don't want to come with you. I'm crushing it as this outside guy.
Thanks for listening to The Broker Brunch. We've now brought you a ton of episodes, and we hope we're providing a lot of value. If you have any ideas of people you'd like to see on future episodes, please drop it in the comments so we can make it happen.
How many years is this into?
This is 2017, 18. I started in 15.
Okay, so it's relatively early, okay.
Yeah, it's like 3 years in, but I've already made quite a good name for myself. I've already converted groups like Harbour Group, these huge conglomerates, to kind of
Let's break that down, because that's unheard of, really. I think you did 800 million. The team you did personally, did 800 million in your first year. But that's
no, not my first year. I would say no, nothing, not at all. It took me about 9 months to start making business, to start getting deals done. The first year the team was together, we did $800 million. That was the first year at Newmark. Myself, I did good numbers, but nothing close to that.
Because we see a lot of young, I'm sure you've seen the same, a lot of young brokers come and go. They struggle to build a sustainable pipeline of business. That's the biggest challenge for any broker, right? I'm sure debt and investment sales. So I'm really curious, the nuance, what key points helped you build that momentum to do serious business?
So first of all, I learned very quickly, don't waste time. A lot of people will waste your time. And then I learned very quickly, if you don't ask, a closed mouth never gets fed, right? If you don't ask for what you want, then it's never going to work for you. So those are two critical points within the brokerage business. So many people will waste your time and not come through for you. And I learned that very quickly. Like these big developers that just wanted to be wined and dined and wanted to hang out and just, but they were never going to give me the business.
That's like an emotional intelligence skill to see, to read someone, see what they want from a situation. That's a
I know. But if I'm on 3 dinners with you and I haven't signed up a deal with you and you're just wanting me to wine and dine you, then that's not interesting. And then if I've signed up a deal with you, but then you've not gone with me, you've gone with somebody else, then you fool me once, right? Fool me twice, it's on me. Yeah. So I always tell people, I'm not in the fishing business. I'm not here to fish. I'm here to get deals done, right? I'm not interested in chasing blue skies. I want to get deals done. And a lot of guys waste so much time on deals that will never get done. So like a guy wants to buy a property, has no money, don't waste your time. So I learned very quickly, don't waste your time on pipe dreams. Don't waste your time on fishing. Focus on what can be done. And then I focused on the strength. What was my strength? My strength was direct access to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, right?
So you do a lot of multifamily transactions.
So I just focused on the multifamily world. I tried to do a few construction deals in the beginning. They're just too much work, too hard. And so I wasn't interested in trying to do some other deals.
Everyone needs a niche, right?
And I want to be in the multifamily world. And then it was also a perfect storm because let me just finish about Newmark. Sorry. So Anthony said, we're going. I don't want to go. He said, you're coming. And I came. And I'm at Newmark now, and I'm trying to figure out what's my niche. And it was the time when New York was instituting all their draconian rent regulations. Okay. So you had all these New York buyers who own New York Multi now looking outside of New York Multi. Within Newmark, you have this whole network of investment sale brokers all across the US, from Philly, the Carolinas, the Midwest, Texas, Florida. This amazing sales force of guys who sell billions of dollars of multi. So that was my bridge, right? So all of a sudden I had these New York buyers that now were looking for outside. I was like, hey, have you spoken to our broker in Texas? Have you spoken to our broker in San Antonio? Have you spoken to our broker in Columbus? And I would make introductions. And these New York buyers, they typically bought tighter cap rates. They took that New York attitude and they went out to these other markets and got very aggressive. Like hard money is a concept that I would say in 2017, you weren't getting hard money in Chicago. You weren't getting hard money in Columbus. They all said, okay, we're buying the property. We're doing hard deposit. We're going to close in 60 days. Like that New New York aggressive mentality. So we started to build a new vertical together where we acted as kind of like a buyer's concierge for these buyers. So we would find them opportunities. And I still do that till today. I see a deal, and so a deal comes down to being sold by the Dallas broker, and I'll look at it and I'll say, oh, this makes perfect sense for this buy. And I'll immediately send him, I said, hey, we should focus on this. This looks like a great opportunity. I'll send it to Cantor, who's now a big buyer of multi. I'll send it, even though they're getting the blast, I'll push it. I'll say, hey guys, we should really focus on this. This one looks like a good one.
So you're working closely with investment sales brokers?
I am. Okay, hand in hand. I spend all my time talking to those guys, seeing where the opportunities are. Deals fall out. Deal falls out. I jump on it, right? I'm like, hey, this deal fell out. We need to jump on this. You should be buying this deal now.
There's a real synergy there.
Yeah.
So moving on to the current state of the market, what's a big question? What's happening in the debt and equity markets in the US right now?
So I would say you've seen a sizable shift over the last few years, right? You've seen a lot of the younger pretenders get crushed. The guys that, again, on the run-up of 2020, when interest rates went down to nothing during COVID and everybody went on this bull market run, and a lot of young guys bought real estate, didn't really understand the real estate they were buying, didn't love the real estate. Real estate is like a plant. You have to nurture it, you have to love it, you have to look after it, you have to be involved in it. And these guys just thought it was a fee business, that they could buy real estate, fee the equity, fee everybody, and then it would all be fine. And then obviously interest rates ran up. SOFR ran from 10 all the way to 5. People didn't have enough interest rates caps. So there was a lot of blood in the water, a lot of people that got hurt. And obviously we've tried to stay close to our clients. We've tried to help them. We've tried to be there for them. We've never disappeared, because you've got to be there in the good times and the bad times. So a lot of these young guys who've really struggled, we haven't abandoned them, right? Even though I'm doing a Pref equity piece for a client of mine, I'm not charging any money. I'm just doing it pro bono. He needs it. He needs to buy a rate cap. He can't go back to his capital, get any more money. He hasn't paid a dividend out. He's getting crushed, but he needs to buy.
It's a stabilized building, yeah.
But it's not really. It's a value add deal. Okay. So he's got a floating rate load on it. The lender's saying, if you don't buy a cap, I'm going to foreclose, take the building. He needs Pref to do it. I went out, found him the Pref, didn't charge, because that's what you need to do. You have to be there for your clients in good times and in bad. And if you abandon your clients in the bad times, then you're not a good broker, right? Then you're just an opportunistic guy, and that's not how you should be. So it's been a lot of hand-holding. It's been a lot of talking off the ledge. It's been a lot of being there and helping. Obviously, the bigger boys have been fine. They've had their wobbles, they've had their issues, but they've had the ability to go from floating into fixed. But the guys that have no ability to go from floating rate debt to fixed rate debt, either it doesn't size for an agency loan, doesn't make sense for an agency loan, they need a lot of hand-holding. So I've done a lot of that. But I'm happy to say we've also been incredibly active. We'll close $1 billion between now and the end of August,
wow,
just multifamily. So
is that spread out throughout the country? Well, sorry, more than the East Coast, or which markets?
Thank you for listening to The Broker Brunch. If you enjoy the show, please hit subscribe so we can reach more people.
We're closing a $240 million deal that my young kid, Ricky, who's 28, is an absolute rock star, superstar. Love that kid. He brought in that deal that's going to close next week. That's a recap of 6 assets with a Canadian fund. He's just amazing. I'm so blessed that he came into my life, and I work with that kid. For a 28-year-old to be doing a $240 million deal, it's spectacular. Then we'll close a $200 million refi. That's across the country. We're doing a $100 million refi in Columbus. So a lot of it is refi, right? Because now that the 5-year is sub 4, it gives you a lot of opportunities to do refi. And then you've got a bunch of acquisitions, right? Guys are still, the big boys are really picking their spots, right? They're really seeing where the opportunity is. We did a deal a few weeks ago. An institution bought a property. The group that sold to them bought it at $340 a door. They bought it at $240 a door. So the big boys,
you're seeing a lot of that.
You're seeing a lot of guys picking their spots and finding new built multi for really, really good pricing and just kind of taking advantage. So it's kind of it's gone from a blanket business where people just threw out the nets and hauled in multi to a target business. So that's what I want to get. That's what I want to buy. That makes sense. That's a deal that looks good. There's some problems there. We can kind of we can get that, right? So you're seeing, and then you're just seeing some really strong growth in some really strong markets, right? So I'll tell you that while everyone thought you're going to see great growth in Austin, they overbuilt Austin like crazy. So Austin's in trouble, but you're seeing tremendous rental growth in markets like Columbus, Chicago, Louisville, Lexington. I'm a huge fan of the Midwest. I love slow and steady wins the race. I was just in Cincinnati, I was in Louisville. So, and I work incredibly close with those guys, with George Scaff, who dominates that market. He has 96% market share in that market. I met him so by chance, crazy story. I'd just come over to Newmark, and I didn't know George, I didn't really know the system, and Jordan Sloan from Harbor Group, an $18 billion group, said, hey, I'm going to fly and tour these 6 assets that George Scaff is going to. Do you want to come with me on my PJ? And so I said, yeah, for sure, I want to go on the PJ.
Why not?
Yeah, it's going to make a good Instagram story. I really know it's in going to Columbus. So I get on the PJ, I fly down, and this is right at the beginning, this is 7-8 years ago, and George starts doing the tour. And then I tell Jordan, I said, Jordan, I'm going to drive with George in his car. You continue the tour with your guys. And I got in the car, and we just kind of, we had a meeting of the minds, and now I cover George for the firm. I kind of try and convert as much of the stuff he sells into debt. He's incredibly prolific. He's the number 1 broker. He's, again, 96% market share. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
He's a complete anomaly. This guy's a complete rock star. Lives and dies by the business, just so ingrained, knows every deal, just like a savant. And so, again, from a chance meeting, but by saying, yes, I'm going, that came about. And so we do a ton in the Columbus market, which has always been a really strong market. So that's how the business is involved. But it's still good, right? It's still rocking and rolling, and we're still doing a lot of deals.
I think like the institutions are stepping away. What we're seeing is the institutions are step away from the stabilized sector because they don't like the political uncertainty, right?
And that's in New York.
In New York, so you've got a different perspective.
Yeah, most of my deals are out of New York, but New York is a great city. It's going to be very hard.
There's still a lot of money chasing deals.
It's still going to be very hard. You can never write off a great city, right? And look at San Francisco. San Francisco's got the highest rent growth in the country today.
Yeah.
2 years ago, where was San Francisco? So you write off a great city at your peril, right? Because look, AI has been a boom now to San Fran. That's all started again. They put in a new mayor. They've got semblance of order. So, and I also think like people write off California at their peril. You can't write off great cities. We've seen so many different phases of migration, right, from when this country first started, right? You had the rural, you had the city, you had going into cities. So you had the big industrial cities. Those fell away, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. But cities remake themselves in a new way. So look, New York may have some turbulence, but you'd be a fool to write it off and say, oh, business won't get done here because all the money's here, all the institutions here. It's going to take more than one man to bring down this great city.
100%. So I know you bounced back forth to Miami, right?
Yes.
So you're living down there now. How's life down there?
So I moved with my family during COVID. We were living in Tribeca, and COVID was miserable, and I'm a very social person, so it was very difficult for me being stuck at home. Not that I don't love my wife and kids, I do very much, but still it was very hard for me. I was literally the first guy back in the office when it was allowed. I've videos of me being the only guy in the office, and I'm putting on Instagram, I'm like, come back to the office. I'm trying to urge people to come back to the office. I went to the office every day because I need to be around people. I need to be in it. It's very hard. I can't understand the kids that work from home today and they don't understand what they're missing, right? If you're in an environment where there's collaboration and conversation, the opportunities are so vast, right? We sit with all these different people on the floor at Newmark. We sit with the retail guys, we sit with the leasing guys, and it just breeds business.
Yeah.
So young kids that are sitting out in your underwear, typing on a computer, get out of your home, right? Find a communal place. Even if you work from a cafe or something, I don't get that. If you want to be great, you've got to be around other greats. So COVID, went down to Miami with my son and my daughter for a weekend, and Miami was open and alive and vibrant. And I was like, what are we doing in New York? And I left my son and my wife in Miami, flew down, got my daughter, emptied my apartment, put my stuff in my Hamptons house, gave the apartment back, and never looked back. And we absolutely love living in Miami. I'm in New York once a month for a week, but Miami is really on fire.
Is there an oversupply there happening like Austin as well, or?
No. In fact, there's a building called Former that was built by Crescent Heights that's now renting out at $6 a square foot. It's crazy.
Wow.
$6 a square foot for Miami is just insane.
Yeah.
So no, there's a ton of needed supply of multi. I would say there's a lot of new condo development, but multi is great. We just closed a deal in Little River, again with Silverstein. It's 197 units. It's a multifamily development. Again, I'm flying out on Wednesday with Silverstein to look at 2 more sites to develop more multi. There's a strong need for multi, and there's just a vibrancy to Miami.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
There's just a great energy, and there's the South American element, which is really good, and they're very business oriented, and people are out and about. It's a very social city, and it's great for business. I meet a lot of great people. I'm doing a lot down there. I'm doing a bunch of development deals down there. I'm really active.
My wife's from, I think I mentioned it before, my wife's from there. She's from a Cuban family. Yeah, they're very entrepreneurial people. And so it's a very vibrant city. I think it's got a lot of runway, actually. I know over the decades prior it has a bit of volatility, but now it seems like it has more of a solid foundation. Mayor Suarez done a great job with the city.
But also it has real industry. You've got Ken Griffin.
Yeah, exactly.
Building, you've got Ken Griffin.
Exactly.
You've got the Armand. You've got real businesses that are now flocking to Miami. I think you'll continue to see that from New York, from California. It's going to continue to bring in a lot of people that want to live there. And not just Miami. Florida in general is really thriving and booming. Right? There's a lot of there, besides for Orlando, right, which is all Disney, which is the biggest employer, but that which is also crushing. But there's just a lot of industry in the Florida area.
Yeah, I think they built another park, a new theme park there.
Yes,
recently.
they did. I'm going to go take my kids there.
Yeah, it looks crazy.
It looks great. It looks like it's the Mario Brothers park.
Yeah,
I love it. I spent 3 magical days for my daughter's birthday in Disneyland. I loved every minute of it.
So I'm going to ask you to get your crystal ball out and ask what's going to happen with the rates. I know before Trump was elected, I suppose, I was telling clients, not that I knew, no one knew, that we thought rates would come down. Obviously, that didn't happen. But now it's been going on. He's been in the office, 7 months now?
Yeah, and there's a lot of noise about Powell.
Yeah.
I don't want to be critical. I personally think rates should be lower. I think we could have real rocket fuel and really take off, right? If he cut rates 50, 75 basis points, it'd just be amazing for me and you, and amazing for so many people, amazing for people that are struggling with their floating rate deals that can't put into fixed rate because where rates are. I think ultimately he's been incredibly cautious, maybe overly cautious. I know the general view within the administration is they want rates cut. They keep on saying it. He doesn't shy away from saying it. But Powell's independent. Powell's going to make his own decisions. I think September they do cut rates. I don't know if it'll be what I want. I think it'll be 25 bip cut. I think the biggest kind of issue you have, even with the rate cuts, is kind of the uncertainty with tariffs. Even though I'm a big fan of tariffs, Howard Lutnick, he's spearheading that. Every time we talk tariffs and you talk agreements, the market spikes, the rates spike. So that's the little bit of uncertainty within the market. But from my perspective, I would love to see a nice, big, fat, juicy rate cut.
So we're both from across the pond. I always tell my wife that America's the best country in the world. It's just so much opportunity. I know you can appreciate with that perspective being from across the pond as well. So I know, just there's so much great opportunity. There's always money looking to come here, as you know. I think there's
you can come here with nothing. I came with $400 in my pocket. I'm sure you came with something similar.
Yeah.
They don't, unlike the UK, which first question out of your mouth is, which school did you go to? We're like high school.
I know, it's like a hierarchical.
Yes. It's like an invisible caste system, right? Oh, I went to Eton. Oh, I went to Harrow. All that nonsense. So I went to Pardas House Grammar School, a nice Orthodox Jewish school in Golders Green. So here in this country, nobody cares where you've come from. They only care is, are you going to work hard and deliver? So if you can work hard and deliver, and for the Brits, we have this wonderful advantage. We have the accent, which they love, and it makes us sound much more intelligent than we really are. But this is the country that if you work hard and you have a dream and you have to work, right? There's no
work pays off in this
country. There's no substitute. That you really have to work. You have to put in the hours. You have to just fight through. You have to do the work, right? You can't get away with just kind of skimming on the ice. It's not going to work. You have to show who you are from between the masses. There's a lot of people chasing that same deal. Yeah. You're only going to get it by making 40 bloody phone calls to the guy to get that deal and knocking on his door, right? I don't care. I'll call someone 15 times. I have no shame in my game.
I believe you.
I will. And if you don't answer, I'll text, I'll email, I'll harass you till I get a response. And I don't care.
We're back. Another season of the Broker Brunch podcast. Summertime in New York. We've got a lot of exciting conversations coming up. We hope you enjoy listening. I love the fact the brokerage business in America, which is not in the UK, is a commission-only business. The sky really is the ceiling. I remember being as a young broker in London, I did a few deals and had a salary discretionary bonus, which was up to my boss. And I came to America and I was thinking, So the fee's 6% on a deal below 5 million, and I would get half.
Yeah.
So, wow, that was a real eye-opener for me. It's like, that's incredible.
Yeah,
Seriously, for a young man, if you want to go for something in life.
And hello, you kill what you eat. So if you're killing a lot, you're eating a lot. So look, this 28-year-old kid's going to close this deal, and he's going to walk away with a nice wad of money in his pocket, like more than the average 28-year-old sees in 2-3 years. So yeah, that's great. I'm so proud of him. I'm so happy for him. And the guys that I surround myself, the young guys that I bring in, I want them ultimately to be rainmakers. I want them all to go out and crush it and bring deals. But you only do that by having the guts to make the approach, having the guts to make the call, having the guts to send that email, pick up the phone, call people. I still cold call. I still cold call. Yeah. I still cold call.
You've got to, right? You've got to be looking for the next deal.
Yeah, I still call people. I'm like, hi, I'm Henry Stimler. I see you're bidding on this deal. Would love to talk to you about what we can do for you. Do it all the time, every day. I cold called a chap in Michigan and never heard of me, didn't know me. Picked up the phone, said, I saw you built these amazing multifamily. There's 1,000 units in Michigan. Love to talk to you about refining them and taking out your construction loan. I'm working on it. I'm going to sign up a $70 million deal with him from a cold call 3 weeks ago.
Well, I love to see the Brits do well in America.
So do
love
I.
to see your success. I'm wishing you all continued success, and I'm glad we got to connect. Just for the viewers, I messaged Henry a couple of years ago on Instagram and saying how I love your content and like what you're doing in your career, and I admire you. And he kindly responded, which I know that your mentorship is a big part of your life.
I always respond.
And
always take the time. As I said, someone took the time to teach me, so I always take the time to teach others. So yeah, I'm happy you reached out. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.